I'm going to start reading again, we're going to start, you can have this memorized because you probably already do, but we're going to keep doing it. So Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Okay, so we always start off. We had homework, and of course this thing's not going to work, or it is. Yay! How did forgiving and forgetting go? Anybody have any stories? Y'all did it as you left here last week, didn't you? I've got kind of a story. My mom got married last Saturday outside, and I was in a full tux. And if you think this looks bad now, you should see me outside in a full tux. It was bad. I thought we learned not to do outdoor weddings at my sister's wedding. Guess not. Anyways, so that went pretty okay. But sometimes, you don't always get along with all your family, and I come from a pretty large one. And they're all a bunch of yahoos. So I was challenged. I'm glad Bill and Lloyd aren't here because I called them to ask for a favor in regarding the wedding. And so Gilda laughed at me. So you can imagine how well I was doing. So I forgave everybody. I think I need to forgive, and I hope they've forgiven me because I definitely need forgiveness after that weekend. It really stinks to teach a class and struggle at the same time. I'm not a professor of grace, so I'm not a subject matter expert. So anybody else? Man, this is a very sharing class. There's a lot of questions today, and we're gonna have a lot of dead air because I did prepare a second slideshow, but I'd like to keep that one for next week if possible. Did you feel the rod or the staff this week, or both? You can do a raise your hand. Who felt the rod this week? I did. He's not my friend. There you go. It's nothing like it's nothing like having a little kid tell you where you're wrong and point it out to all your family about not acting like Jesus. So that's good. That's good. He did that. And the staff as well. Who had the staff? I'll say too, I almost got in a car wreck because I am me. I learned to drive in Los Angeles. In what other ways were you a sheep this week? Anybody have any bad stories? They could be bad. There's the joke. Okay, we found it. Anybody? We're gonna do Bueller. Man, that must be hot too. All right, so we're gonna focus today on Psalms 23. Good sharing, everybody. Just, I'm sorry, I'm really hot and I'm really sarcastic, and when we put the two together, it's nothing. Or facetious, as my dad said. Psalm 23, verse 5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. So the first part of this lesson is going to be focusing on that verse alone. There's a couple of things in that verse that we're going to take out of. Again, we're going to talk about joy. Joy is God's destiny for you, right? What is your definition of joy? Anybody have a definition of joy? I didn't write one down, so I'm hoping you'll give me one.
Family.
Family is joy?
Mm-hmm.
Tiny babies are joy. When they're not yours, right?
Yeah, when they're asleep.
When they're asleep, yeah. We got that. We got ours on the sleep schedule real fast. Anybody else?
Good health.
Good health? Good. I like that one.
Good medical report.
Good medical report? Good. Anybody else?
Puppies.
Puppies, peace. Peace. Mine's when the Cubs won the World Series in 2016. That was 100 years coming, and I'm going to have to wait another 100 years probably because they are the Cubs.
Joy also they get stopped and released and not get the ticket.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Jerry Jones ever gives up the Cowboys. Probably some joy there. Yeah, there's a lot of different definitions of joy. What brings you joy? We talked about babies, we talked about puppies, we talked about family. What else? What brings you joy? Rain? I don't know. I loved rain up until it made me postpone my game on Monday to today. We were gonna win on Monday. We're not. When I left, we weren't doing so hot. But no, rain, yeah. No matter if it's 5 minutes or 50 minutes, right? Anybody remember that May like 5 years ago where all it did was rain and we got out of the drought for like 2 weeks? That was nice, wasn't it? Rain brings joy. My wife still doesn't understand why I stare at the storm door and just watch it. She's just like, why do you close the door? I'm like, no, this is different. This is special. Or you just watch lightning, if we don't have any rain, which happens as well. Anything else? What brings you joy? Friends? People said better friends. Mine's the friends like these. Those are my type of friends.
I would say relationships.
Relationships, yeah. Quiet. But it does. Mine is wins. Right now, I get excited for wins. Would you consider God a joyful being? Yes? Why? Why would you consider God a joyful being? It's a weird question.
Love. Love is joy.
Okay. God is love, love is joy.
He doesn't give us what we deserve. He gives us joy of knowing forgiveness.
Okay. He doesn't give us what we deserve. He gives us joy and forgiveness. Okay. I think it's a weird question because in the Old Testament we don't have what one might consider a joyful God. Do we? We have kind of a real sergeant almost.
Saw that it was good.
Yeah, it's true. Saw that was good. Then he saw us. He saw that was very good. I think that's the only person who ever said that about me. So God is a joyful being. John 15, verse 11. I've told you this so that my joy will be in you and that your joy may be complete. Whose joy was that? Who's saying this? It's not in red letters, but it's pretty obvious. Jesus. Jesus said this because I should have put it in red letters. I'd been a good joke. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. Would you consider joylessness a sin? This is a hard question for me because I'm a sarcastic person, as I've already mentioned. And I have a smile, but it's more of a wily one.
I think it's something more to strive towards, like righteousness, something that you may not even achieve in your lifetime, but something you're always striving towards.
You're always striving towards joy, but you have not achieved joy. Okay, so you're talking about almost like moving the goalposts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, God's joy, his complete being, his complete joy,
I'm not talking about living in God's joy. I'm talking about you yourself having joy. I have joy, babies, puppies, things like that. We're going to go into like the difference between secular and non-secular forms of joy. But is joylessness in and of itself, is that a sin?
No.
No?
Joy is something that you're hoping for, like our salvation. We hope for salvation, which gives us joy in our heart. God promised us that joy.
Okay.
Well, it's almost a point of view. Is it in James that consider it pure joy when you face trials?
Right.
It's not saying that trials are joy, but how you approach them. So it's not whether you're a fat or skinny person, it's how you're looking at the world.
Okay.
I also think too that God created it for us to respect it, to look for it. That we should strive for joy. It's maybe not a sin to be joyless, but we should be looking.
Right. I'll put it to you this way. I personally think joylessness is a sin, and that's coming from me, the mean old man. I was born a 90-year-old man. I think we have badly underestimated the necessity of joy. Turn on the news. What's noise? Is there a lot of good news on the news?
No.
Not even love it. So.
If you're grieving, there's no joy in that.
Depends on the grieving. Well, I mean, okay, so my father passed away in 2015 from cancer, right? And yes, I grieved, But at the same time, I knew he was in a better place. He was no longer in cancer. So that brought me joy. I was still grieving, but I was still happy that he's no longer, riddled with tumors and stuck in a bed for 6 months. Go back here for a second. What's up?
Joy is a gift. It comes from the Holy Spirit. It is one of His.
Okay.
Joy is a gift.
Okay.
I've been sitting on my hands here.
It's okay.
Joy is not what happens to you, it's what happens inside of you.
Okay.
I'd like to bounce off of the scripture concerning the fruit of the Spirit. It's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. And you look at that. This is a gift, is a fruit of the Spirit.
Mhm.
God doesn't give us pieces of the fruit. He gives us the whole fruit. Again, as the brother mentioned concerning James chapter 1 and verse 2, it says, count it all joy, my brothers, when you face various trials. And the next part of that, he says, for you know. Joy is knowing. Joy is having the security of that inner peace, of knowing that no matter what we come up against, God has a purpose for it. Not only does he have a purpose for it, but there's something greater waiting on us. And so this is what we have to long for. Yeah, we're in a world now with a whole lot of trials and tribulations, but there's joy at the end of our journey. And that's what we've got to long for. That's what we've got to consider. We've got to consider the value, purpose, for whatever we encounter.
Nehemiah 8:10. Do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about grief. Do not grieve. For the joy of the Lord is your strength. Whenever I hear somebody talking about grief, I often bring up the story of David. When he's sitting there and he's done some terrible things. And so the punishment for the Bathsheba thing is that that baby is going to die, right? And so he's sitting there with ashes and sackcloth, and he's mourning and mourning and mourning. And then finally the baby dies. And he just gets up, what I consider takes a shower, gets food, and asks, well, why aren't you in mourning now? And he goes, well, at this point, I thought maybe I could change God's mind. So I was mourning and I put on sackcloth. But once this happens, I can't change his mind. Well, what good is it going to do? Right? The joy of the Lord is your strength. What does joy being strength mean? How does joy equal strength? Joy produces strength and energy. Ever seen a really tired, joyful person? I haven't. When you have energy and you're joyful, you feel like you can run a mile, right? Do we as Christians tend to label things that bring joy and pleasure as inherently unspiritual or sinful? I'm not talking about the joy, the spiritual joy, the Holy Spirit. I'm talking about just the, I accomplished something good today, that brought me joy, or I did something great today. I helped out a homeless person. I extended grace to somebody that I wouldn't normally extend to. Is it inherently, do we consider it inherently unspiritual? Are things that are happy or things that are good, do we consider that inherently unspiritual?
There's a difference between happiness and joy.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness is what's around us that we enjoy doing, happy or whatever. But joy is, like he said, is the attitude we have in the circumstances that we're in.
I think I'm going to say something controversial. You cannot have joy without happiness. It's a component. Just like you can't get to 4 without adding some numbers together. I think you cannot be depressed and joyful at the same time. I don't think it works that way. I think you can be stressed and joyful, but I don't think you can be unhappy and joyful. So we're going to talk about strategic celebration, which is a fun 2 words that I've never put together in a sentence in my entire life. So if you want to pursue joy, let's practice a discipline of celebration. What is a discipline of celebration? In the Old Testament, there's a great emphasis on feast days. We used to have those before COVID. They were called potlucks. We have 7 different types of mac and cheese, and they were all good. Right? When was the last time anybody had a feast day that wasn't called Thanksgiving or Christmas or a holiday? The Old Testament, they have many, many, many reasons for feasts. And in the Old Testament, it's dictated how you do that. They have a whole year of what's called Jubilee, right? Where a massive celebration is told. People get their land back that was sold previously. A lot of stuff happens. I wonder what America would look like if we did a year of Jubilee every century. I think it was every 49 years. Wasn't it 7 times 7? It was 49 years. The year of Jubilee. Spiritual growth does not come from just fasting and meditating, right? You can grow spiritually. I'm not saying you can't do those things. What I'm saying is that things like fellowship, things that bring joy to you, like being with your family, that can also grow you spiritually. There's a reason we have the mountains and the valleys, right? Anybody disagree? You can disagree with me. That's fine too. Can you think of a celebration we take part in today that has spiritual significance? Baptism. How so? How's that a celebration? It's an obvious question.
It's rebirth.
It's rebirth, right? Anybody think of communion as a celebration? I know, like, I come from the old school Church of Christ way of saying, bow your head, think of him, sacrifice on the cross, and the pain. I get that, but it's still a celebration because it signifies something. It has meaning. What other celebrations do we have? I mentioned it earlier in class already.
Birthdays.
Didn't mention that, but yeah, okay. So how so? That's interesting. Mine's on Saturday if you want to buy me, if you want to keep it $25.
I think when you're younger, it's more than when you get older. Older, you have to have a birthday.
Well, that's because they don't make bounce castles for adults. I think weddings are a celebration that has spiritual significance. You're entering a covenant, not just with another person, but with you're entering a covenant forever, right? You do it in front of God, do you not? There's a lot of things we do and we celebrate, and I don't think we ever think about them because I think we just get used to them, right? They go into the humdrum, they go into the day after day, the monotony, if you will. How would communion change if every time you were there, you kind of did a little celebration for you? Now don't start doing choreography, as we call it at ACU. But how would that change for you? How would that change your outlook if you thought of it as a celebration? For me, it's hard for me to think of weddings as celebrating, especially when I'm in a full tux and then outside. I'm not good with lots of people, but that's my fault, isn't it? It's not the wedding's fault. It doesn't change the significance of the wedding. When we celebrate, we exercise our ability to see and feel goodness. Our capacity for joy increases. We're talking about strength comes from joy. How do you increase muscle mass? Exercise. So I wonder if we should need to exercise our joy muscles. I think we exercise our studying and our prayer and our worship. I think we do all that great. I wonder if we exercise our joy muscles or if we're really good at getting stuck in the bad stuff. The reason I say we get, because I get stuck on the bad stuff. I am a hypercritical drill sergeant. accountant who used to go to people's companies and figure out what they're doing wrong and then tell them so. I'm really good at auditing. I'm really good at when knowing's right and figuring out what people are doing it wrong. So how do we begin? We begin now. Psalms 118:24. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Well, how many people are rejoicing that it's 99 degrees outside? It could always be worse, right? You could live in Phoenix. I lived in Phoenix. I moved from Phoenix to Indianapolis. The first rain we got in Indianapolis, it flooded my car because all of my seals had cracked in Phoenix. Did not know this was a thing that could happen. Right? It could be worse. You could be in Albuquerque. I say that. Albuquerque's not great. I was there. That was the shortest time, 8 months, and I got the heck out. Right? How many wake up and say, yay, I get to go to work today? I don't do that. It's down the hall. Right? I actually got me a new ultra-wide monitor this week. It's really nice. Helped my productivity go up. Still not excited about it. How many people are excited to go deal with the traffic in the school run and figure out all the yahoos who can't seem to park on the right side of the road in front of one of the Christian schools and park on the wrong side of the road and make it harder for every one of us? I'm not getting specific here, but that happens. Right? LCS needs a real thing to pull up. But it's fun to stare at the E-steps when I go pick up my son and they don't know who I am. I'm just staring at somebody through my windshield like a creep. I did it to Randy once too. Every day, each with this homecoming is the day we get to see God work. How many of you guys wake up and think this is the day I get to see God's work in action? You do?
Okay.
Oh, you got a comment, okay.
Because we live in this enclave,
Uh-huh.
and so you are often told, whether somebody's handing you your glass of tea or whatever, have a blessed day. All blessings, all days are blessed.
That's awesome. Sometimes I go to Walmart just to be greeted nicely by somebody.
You know, even I can remember.
These are jokes.
The day that it first occurred to me that this was a thing, because I woke up that morning and I thought, okay, well, all blessings don't come with smiley faces.
It's true.
We had been working at getting Mother's car away from her. And we had worked and tried to talk to her and various things, and lo and behold, that afternoon, we were not expecting the non-smiley face blessing that we got, but she hit a 3/4 ton pickup, which did not face the pickup at all, but destroyed that little car that we did trying to get rid of. She was fine. She had her back. Fine. You know, she had a little lesson that one day, and we all did. But that was a blessing that came without a smiley face. So when you say we can't have joy without happiness, no, I was not happy that she had had that. You know, it scared me. It scared me on various levels.
Okay.
But I was so joyful about it. Because it was a gift. He had prayed for it. Yeah, he had prayed for it. How awesome. So I'm sure that my kids will pray for the same lesson someday.
Now, we might not have 3/4 ton pickups, but
We've lost a lot of the ability to embrace the idea of celebration. I work graveyards, and tomorrow's my birthday. So I beat you.
well, all my birthdays are good birthdays.
So I woke up today, and my first thought was, "Oh, help me get out of bed." You know, not celebrating the fact that I was awake, just I'm gonna make it. And then I smelled my birthday cakes that my wife has been making, and it was fantastic. But at the same time, I didn't feel that sense of celebration to think of my children. And every day when I asked them, "Hey, how was school? How do you feel today?" that, you know, and I think it's almost become endemic that we don't know how to celebrate either as a by ourselves or as a family or as a community. The idea of celebrating in church, someone raises their hands during services, people look at them like, what in the world's going on? What's Ken doing down there? You know?
Yeah, he's not here to.
No, but seriously,
No,
you know,
I get you.
I mean, the idea of celebration, we lost completely. Was it flagellation? Oh, we got that.
Yeah. I often think of the monks from, this might not be a good example, I often think of the monks from Holy Grail, when they're hitting themselves in the boards as they're walking. Sometimes I feel like that's kind of what I'm like. Like, I've got the steps down, I can walk in a straight line, but I forget the whole purpose of walking that straight line. How many of you guys think this? If I had blank or if I accomplished blank, then I would have joy. Is that a barrier to entry to some people?
Most would say if I had money and if I accomplished success, then I would have joy. That
Yeah.
might be the number one.
That's one of my. So then that's where we can start talking about the difference between happiness and joy. People say money can't buy happiness. What's the jokes? People say money can't buy happiness, but it can buy a jet ski, and I've never seen a sad person on a jet ski.
I have.
I lost my glasses on it just in the ocean.
There you go. Stand corrected. I'll find a new pithy saying.
Take that.
I think we can continually
Birthday
move the
tomorrow.
goalposts. I think once we achieve that, and I think often we achieve the blank. I think we do. I think we say, well, if I only make, manager, I'll be happy. If I win whatever, I think we just move the goalposts. I think we do it worse as we get older. Kids are easy to make joyful, right? Give them a piece of candy. When was the last time you got joyful about a piece of candy? So, can we find joy in struggle and strife? And I didn't add this in here, but I like to say do the saying is I try to complain less because I'm a really good American and I'm really good at complaining. And so I try to tell myself, be the change you want to see. Right? So we're talking about here not having joy and kids coming home and not being happy, right? My son does the same thing. I'm like, how can you not remember what you did at school? I was with you for half of it. We went to Blazing Bouncers. How do you not remember? I can't remember. Okay. Right? But am I being the example of joy in my household? Are you being the example of joy in your household? Right? Be the change you want to see. If you're sitting here going, man, I wish I was a lot more joyful in my life. Why aren't you? I can't answer that for you. But I think we all know the answer. It's all a matter of perspective. We talked about being internal. I know some people like to hit this guy, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Does anybody not know who Dietrich Bonhoeffer is? Dietrich Bonhoeffer is a Lutheran minister. He founded, I think it's called the French Church. He got out of Germany right when the Nazisms were starting to get bad, but then he went back. And he got sent to a concentration camp for, disagreeing with the Third Reich in a number of ways. And this was said of him by a fellow prisoner. He always spread an atmosphere of happiness and joy over the least incident and profound gratitude for the mere fact, apparently autocorrect got me, the mere fact that he was alive. That's a crazy perspective. That's extreme. Like I said, he gets to me. I complained the whole time I was at the T-ball game. We should have done this Monday night. We'd be winning right now Monday night. Right? And then, again, I hate teaching this because then I read something like that. A man's in a concentration camp and he can still spread joy. He can still be joyful. He still taught people about God in there. Right? He was still a minister. So, we got questions. Hope we get some responses. You guys have done good so far. What are some way God prepares a table for us in our everyday life? We talked about that celebration. What are some way God prepares that table for us? Like it talks about in the Psalm. Creation?
I just look at flowers, or I look at, just my children, things that God have made, my husband, And I
She
just,
baked you a cake.
I just,
Two.
I just am grateful.
It's awesome. I got joyful when I looked at the lunar eclipse. I don't think I've ever actually taken the time to go see that. And I love space stuff, but 10 o'clock, I kind of want to go to sleep.
How does that work?
Acknowledge my head. Anybody else? How does God prepare a table for us in everyday life? Yeah, what's up?
Going back to what you were saying before, in looking at this shepherd imagery,
Yeah.
it's like takes the sheep aside, pulls out all the weeds,
Right.
so the grass is there for them.
Right.
And they don't eat anything that's going to be harmful. And so it's providing. But what we do, and what you're alluding to, is look at the weeds instead of the grass. The table is prepared for us.
Right. Yes, sir.
I think it brings truth to say that life itself is a preview of coming attractions. The scriptures say that pain endures for the evening, joy comes in the morning. So the final joy in the morning will be salvation.
We are on a journey, aren't we? The shepherd's work for his sheep takes place in the presence of enemies, bears, lions. What parallels can you make between this fact? I don't know why. I don't know if a Control F and replaced every fact with face. And the good things that come from God to us in a fallen world. So what parallels can you make between sheep and shepherds being around their enemies and the good things that come from God to us in a fallen world?
Well, and it can be as simple as just what you said, being happy or joyful in the everyday mundane.
Mhm.
The time crunches, the bad news, everything that surrounds us, we have to just push aside and have joy because we're God's creation every day.
I think if you're ever bored, maybe you need to go look for something else. Right? Enjoy the mundane because it's not. If you're ever bored, that's a good thing sometimes because could have some not fun times, right? How do we keep the pursuit of joy and pleasure from becoming selfish or sinful? Right? People are always, if you find something that makes you joyful, maybe it's not the right kind of joy, but maybe you find it. So how do we keep that from becoming selfish or sinful? Right? Let's say you do something good to help the homeless, or maybe you do something good to help somebody in church. How do you keep that from making that selfish?
Do the deed and forget about it.
Do the deed and forget about it?
Forget about it.
When it's brought up or something, you give it more glory to God, and we're able to help out in a way.
Okay.
Sharing what you have is one way of keeping from being selfish.
So by sharing with others, you basically have to not be selfish. Okay. On the opposite side of the coin, why is it important to grow in joy and celebration? We've kind of already talked about, but why is it important to grow in this? Why is it important to exercise that muscle?
Legacy.
Legacy? How so?
Passing it on to our kids.
Okay, yeah, I like that. My answer kind of goes along with that. Nobody's going to join a religion with mean people.
Take it back. I worked at the post office. And a lot of operators along. One of the technicians, they didn't want to kill him. Because he was kind of hostile for him, get on some, that's what they did to the machine. Well, I worked with him a long time, and that's where he didn't do that anymore. Because I never did ask him what they did to the machine. I go have a good time with him, and all they said, take your time. I said, I get to take my time and run it. trying to be cheerful to him. Like I say, after a while, like I say, he was more cheerful towards the outbreak. And they didn't resent him so much.
My grandma said you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar.
One of the early times with it, working with him, I went on the machine, the lady went to leave, said, you can come back, but don't bring me home.
That's funny. That's why I married who I married. I'm pretty sure people invite Rachel to things and I just get to tag along. Right, we're supposed to, Great Commission, right, go out and make disciples, right? Nobody's gonna make disciples if you're angry all the time. Right? If you don't have joy, if you're not liking what you're doing, if you're not liking being in God and Jesus, first off, you're not gonna enjoy it, right? But you're not gonna get anybody else to do it either because they see that you're miserable all the time. Right? That's why I don't have very many friends, because I'm miserable all the time or sarcastic. How can the absence of joy actually weaken us in our ability to live godly lives?
Makes you see all the bad things.
Makes you, so you only focus on the negative, right? Somebody else?
Become grouches.
Become grouches. Right? I had my grandfather, my dad's dad. So I come by my grouches honestly. We call it, his nickname was Grumpy Grandpa. And he looked mean. He came from Crosbyton, and he decided one day they were going to play Cowboys and Indians with real arrows. He got shot in the eye, so he always had this like really mad look on his face, like he did something wrong. And so we called him Grumpy Grandpa. Well, my grandma found out one day, and he stopped being grumpy. Right? Nobody wants to be around you. It's hard to live godly life. I think Dale said, what, 2 weeks, you can't be a Christian and be a hermit, basically?
I think you experience spiritual joy, godly joy in your life if you're in that happy.
Right?
If you have the absence of joy, you're not going to fool anybody. You're going to fool yourself.
I'm also saying that if you ever get angry, if you're not having a good day, don't get mad at yourself, because that's only going to propagate the problem. That's only going to extend the problem, right? Be okay with having a bad day. It teaches you this, like, yes, you're going to have guilt. When you forgive somebody, don't you also need to forgive yourself? That's all you got to do better. So
the book of Job, in the book of Job,
right.
the whole thing. I mean, he had the joy of God, and he trusted God, and it was all the people around him that didn't. That questioned and said, "Just give up," and eventually it caused him to question. So,
right, he started off real well, huh?
So that so that's the answer. One of your answers to your questions. Not only if you're on that unjoyful side, you steal other people's joys.
Yeah.
And so it's not always you going out,
right?
But other people can suck it right out of you.
That's right. There are energy vampires in the world. Action item. Again, if this is your first time here, we always have an action item. We're going to practice the discipline celebration. Find something to celebrate with somebody, right? Grieve with those who grieve, but also, what is that? What's the other side of that? Rejoice with those who rejoice. Find some way to rejoice with somebody this week. You guys think you can do that? It's my birthday on Saturday. I'm not having a party, but you can, do a little yay. I made it to 36. Well, we're not there yet, so you never know. So that's it for today. I got 10 minutes. We can move on to the next one if you want to. Somebody shook their head no. Okay.
Sometimes when you do things, like I said, it's always got to go to the operating zone. One evening, we got off at 11 o'clock, and the evening, date night came on at 10. And this guy was over on the machine, and it's acting up. I went over and worked on it. I said, okay, back to work, break's over. And he unloaded him. He was not having a good day. I didn't say a word to him. I just let him go. From then on, every time I went by, he greeted me the next day with a smile.
Huh. That's interesting.
In other words, the way you treat people, like I say, if I had, come back at him with something, I'd probably never been friendly with me again.
Right.
Sometimes you gotta let it roll off your back. Go.
And sometimes too, just going around with wherever you work, you have to sometimes help your coworkers with that, you know? Something will come up and something's not working out the right way, and you know that the other person is just flustered or whatever, and you can kind of smooth that over and help it go well instead of letting it turn into something horrible.
Joy can have healing abilities, not only physically, but mentally.
That's true. I got a funny video to show y'all. You guys made me think of it. This is a sidebar. This is something I've been working on. And this might help with those grouchies out there. Because I work a lot with, now I do a lot of capital management, and people want to spend my money, and I keep telling them no. Can't spend what we don't have. And so that makes IT professionals angry when you tell them they can't go buy a new thing. Especially when somebody else told them they could buy the new thing, and then you tell them, no, you can't do that. But I hold the purse strings. And I'm sure you guys, some of y'all have seen this little clip. It's 2 minutes. There's no bad words in it this time. It's called "It's Not About the Nail." Has anybody seen that video? It's not about the nail. For people who are having fun times in their marriages, this might actually help you out. If you're like me, how many of y'all are fixers? How many? See, this is the problem. I say be joyful.
All men are.
Yeah. So yeah, that's true. So I say be joyful, be the change you want to see. My thing is, when I'm saying I'm gonna be the change, I'm gonna go make that other person joyful. I'm gonna go fix their problems so that they're joyful. And then it just makes us both miserable, right? So this is called "It's Not About the Nail." And don't give away the ending. Spoiler alert.
Just remember that I've seen it. Cool.
Okay, let me see. All right, let me see if I can make this sound work this time. At least the computer wanted to work for me this time, right? Oh, maybe not. Maybe. Well, fans didn't turn on, so that's not the thing. So we've discovered something. So Windows wanted to ask what I plugged in. All right, there we go.
You know, and sometimes it feels like it's right up on me, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless, and I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
You do have a nail in your head.
It's not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail.
See, you're not listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
Sorry, this is my way.
It's just, sometimes it's like, there's this achy, I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are just now being all.
Sounds pretty hard.
Ow!
Come on, if you would just
Don't.
Okay, so that. So sometimes when you want to spread joy, you want to fix it, right? You want to fix their problems because you think that's going to spread joy. But a lot of times the way you spread joy is just by listening. You notice at the end he gave an empathetic response of that just sounds really hard. But I love that example. Of course, there's a caveat for me because I'm still holding it in where I go, okay, if we have this conversation one time, I'll listen. We have a conversation the second time, I'll listen. The third time, that nail's coming out. So you might have a caveat like that, but that's true, right? Some people just, and we're about to go through a convergence where we're going to go to a whole new healthcare system, and so Covenant's about to get a lot more fun for you guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, my.
What is going on there?
It's clinical's fine. It's the back end. It's my end that's about to get a lot worse. Clinical side's not changing. It's everything else in the back end is changing. We're moving to a big overarching master control program. Anyways, so I am going to be on a team in what's called a war room, and it's called that for a reason because people are going to call in to complain. And unfortunately, the fix would be to go back to the old system, but that's not happening. So I get to listen to their complaint. I get to be customer service, and that's not a position you want me in. Even when I worked at Target, I worked back room. They kept me in the back. They didn't let me see people. So this is going to be like on repeat in my house all the time of, that sounds really hard. But, that might help them have better joy that day, Again, it's a Christian organization. I assume most people are Christians inside Covenant and Providence St. Joseph overall. And so I have to be Jesus to people. I don't get an excuse, right? It's not normal corporate America. This is a Christian organization. So, yeah, celebrate this week. Find some reason. I think you'll be fine at it. I think you'll have fun. Please bring stories back. I'm running out of them, believe it or not. It's like all about the fun I had at the wedding, which is not fun. I can tell you about the interesting people. But interesting is a good word. Interesting people I met. Yeah. Anything else? Questions, comments, concerns? Obviously, my fucking time. I'll let you guys go. You guys can move about the cabin. Appreciate you. I really do.